Welcome back to the Road to Infinity. We are on episode 4, talking about Thor. Hey, look at that. I got mad bars. We're rhyming here.
I see
am
what
Chris.
you did there. Yes.
Yeah, and this is Alex, and we're here from Completing the Shelf, going through all the Marvel movies leading up to Avengers: The Infinity War, out May 4th. So thanks for joining us. Alex, Thor.
Yes.
Pretty good
No, I'm
movie.
not Thor. Oh, yes,
it
it was a good movie. Yes.
Yes. No, you're not quite the man meat that Chris Hemsworth is, and neither am I.
Oh, okay.
And that's why we're sitting and making a podcast. But
all right. Yeah.
yeah, Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh, came out 2011,
Yes.
and Marvel's first real risk, I think, because it's going into this mythological, magical realm, maybe all nine realms, and it had to work, and they had to find the secret ingredient to make that work. And I think, well, we'll talk about if they succeeded or not. But here's a quick plot summary.
Yes. Please.
It's the struggle of a family and power, and how power is shifting between the members of the family. And when the oldest brother is destined to become king, his name is Thor, he is found to be wanting and too arrogant, needing of humbling. And so the king, the All-Father, Odin, banishes him to Earth, stripping him of his powers, and says you will regain your station and power once you are worthy of the hammer Mjolnir. So Thor is this fish out of water. There's a lot of comedy on Earth. He eventually is confronted.
But of all the places he ends up, by the way, all the places he ends up, New Mexico?
Well, you know why?
I mean,
because film studios get a huge tax credit by filming there at this time.
oh, well, there you go.
That's why Breaking Bad's there. That's why Stargate went there a couple episodes. That's why people are going there. But, it's beautiful. Like we talked about with in our best of 2017, I talked about Better Call Saul. Yeah.
The
You
land
went
of
to school out that
enchantment,
area,
New
right?
Mexico. Yes, out in the Southwest, but not quite in New Mexico.
Yeah.
We always kind of had a strange, weary eye to New Mexico, always in the back of our mind, like, is Heisenberg just going to come out of the desert and just rain upon us? But no.
The interesting thing is,
it is a beautiful part of the world.
you reminded me that they showed the license plates that said the Land of Enchantment several times in this film before Thor arrives. And even, I think, at the end of Iron Man 2 in the post-credit scene, and this is the magical movie, Land of Enchantment, Asgard. A nice little hook there. But on with the plot. Thor's brother, Loki, learns of his origin, his true parentage is he's a frost giant. And feeling lied to and betrayed and his identity screwed up by his father, he works to subsume the throne. And Thor eventually has to fight him back to win back the throne and return order and balance to Asgard. Loki gets lost into some black hole or a wormhole in the end.
Yeah.
And the day is saved. Yay! Thor is back to being the god of thunder. Okay, so what do we like?
Well, we continue to see that it is a bit of a headlining cast, including the likes of Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tom Hiddleston. But we didn't know Tom was as cool as he was back then because it was our first real exposure here in America to this point of Tom Hiddleston. Because really, up until that point, you really only knew him from any projects that you might have been overseas. I mean, the only two films he had been in to that point were completely nondescript works, and then from that point on, he's done a handful of different things, and some of them within the MCU, some outside of the MCU, but most importantly, what we're discussing, he is Loki.
And, I don't know if this is a headline. The only headliner star is Anthony Hopkins, really.
To this point, yeah, because Hemsworth was still a bit of an unknown. Natalie Portman was still trying to shake the mystique of being Padme Amidala to that point.
This didn't work.
It didn't hurt, but it didn't. right. It didn't hurt, but it didn't like push it outside of that. But yeah, I think Black Swan did more to help that than Thor
Yes.
did. But it's certainly one of those things that she finds her way into a lot of different types of cinematic roles. But yeah, it's
You
just
know, Hemsworth previously, all he was really seen for was playing um, Kirk's dad in the Star Trek 2009 film, the first JJ film, which
which
was
is
awesome there,
strange.
but he
Yeah,
died quickly.
you think about it because, well, yes, he plays Chris Pine's dad, and this whole Chris saga just continues to begin at that point
It's a
from
good name.
that's the movie. Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir. Self-serving, whatever. Can I say I'm jealous? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, they all look better than a lot of other Chris's that I know. You know, the ones in the mirror. You know, but
Got it.
other things that you like besides the performances, the actors. What about the plot? Like, what'd you like? Did you like anything about the story, humor, visual effects,
You
character
know,
growth?
visual effects again. We continue to beat this, and we may go into beating this into the ground, Hulk smash style. But the action, the seminal thing that continues to ring true when talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the visuals. It is just how grand they then take things from the comic book to the stage and the screen for this instance, and bring that to a much greater life than they had just written in two dimensions. I think that continues to lead the way because we're not going to have the plot line levels that you would see from a true Academy Award winning or Golden Globe winning Best Picture type film. I don't think you're going to get a lot of folks into the seats by doing that. You're going to get them by recreating the great action that those comic books had created from yesteryear.
Well, and the
But
benefit of these films is the comics literally can serve as storyboards for that action,
correct.
right? And so you often see, if you're a real nerd, you see action poses lifted off the page.
Right, and there is part of me that wants to see the action lettering also come out too, but that seems a little doofy.
I don't
but
need bam, pop, pow.
not like 1960s and 70s Batman Adam West style. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Kapow.
And for Thor, it'd be
Um,
boom, crack, sizzle.
Throng.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it is the visual aspects of the story that are the positives for me, and that's all I can really devise at this point.
I love the Shakespearean nature of the story. Perhaps not Academy Award winning, but they really took effort to develop these as rich, dramatic, and epic characters. And so I'm going to read a quote from Kenneth Branagh. He was talking about, like, were you pulled in to be a director for this? Because he's directed countless Shakespearean films, acted in them, been in Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
But his mission in life is to bring the bard to the masses by putting them in relatable films. So here's a quote. We've just seen about 2 billion people watch a royal family at work. So I would say that it is Shakespearean, but it's global that we're interested in what goes on in the corridors of power, whether it's the White House or Buckingham Palace. Shakespeare was interested in the lives of medieval royal families, but he also rated the Roman myths and Greek myths, and I think Stanley went to the myths that Shakespeare hadn't used, recognizing that they contain very condensed universal stories. So what Branagh brought to this story is these very human, even though they're Asgardian, alien, god things, human stories of complex new characters struggling with power in a family. And then there's the whole paternal relationships there and being betrayed, lots of betrayal and lying. It's just very classic human universal themes and events that go on that makes this, I think, a long-lasting film. I still have issues with it, and we can talk about that, but the core of the story and the character development is so rich. And after I watched this, I was like, just like Iron Man 1. Wow, that character had a total transformation in worldview by the end.
Right.
That doesn't happen that much. Even in non-supernatural or super heroic movies, you don't get that complete transformation. So I have to award it for that.
Yeah. See, what happens here is that you bring in a character like Thor, who, aside from the comic books, has a very historic meaning to an entire society and country of people.
Yes.
And you have to separate yourself from that immediately, because it doesn't automatically take from that plot line. It takes it to a more, and not in a bad way, it takes it to a much more comic bookian level of action and intrigue, because you sit there, you read the Norse mythology on Thor, the hammer-wielding god of thunder, lightning, storms, strength, fertility, the protection of mankind, hallowing, and the fortress of Asgard, and oak trees. I mean,
only oak trees. No other
yes,
trees.
Just no pines, no evergreens, just oak trees, please. And I can hear Chris Hemsworth saying that now that I think about it. But
well, and in the comics, he rides atop a flying goat.
oh, I'll take a flying goat. That sounds bitchin'. Yeah.
I think the goat's name is Tooth Gnasher, too.
Oh, that's adorable.
I think what you're pointing at is this is an adaptation of a rich cultural mythology.
Correct.
Just like Hercules from Disney is an adaptation.
Right. It's done in a digestible format that makes it appealing.
Sure.
Again, I am, just like with Iron Man 2, ignoring the... I'm not saying it completely ignoring the plot, but I'm not taking into consideration how this is going to now relate to what Tony just dealt with in terms of Ivan Vanko, because Thor is its own story. Oh, man, all these great comic books are coming back and being relevant now because they're movies, and they're great movies, and they're visually awesome, and it's cool. So for me, I kind of now lead this into how it plays into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Meet Thor. Hunk, dreamy, man-meat, super strong, hammer-wielding Norse god, Thor. Trapped on Earth to try to make things right and earn his place back in Asgard.
Yeah. Do you have any problems with the film? What's the major glaring issues for you?
Natalie Portman?
Natalie Portman?
No, I mean, she's a great actress.
But she wasn't written well.
I don't think she was cast appropriately. I just don't know. I mean, I'm not in the casting seat. I mean, if you think back, she had a lot of things to do back in 2010, 2011. I don't know that this really was one of the things that she needed to be doing.
Well, on paper, Chris Hemsworth, awesome, beautiful, pretty good actor. Natalie Portman, oh yeah, beautiful, great actor. Put them together, and the writing just didn't work. She's a weak character, I think. I like the scientific angle, like treating the magic of Thor's realm as science. The Rainbow Bridge is really an Einstein-Rosen bridge, which is a wormhole. That was really cool for me to explain how this works in the world. But the romance, there's no chemistry between them. When they kiss at the end, it's just like,
Right, and you kind of think back to the last few roles leading into this. You have The Black Swan. You have a rom-com in No Strings Attached where she's opposite Ashton Kutcher. You've got her in this comedy farce movie with Danny McBride and James Franco that absolutely bombs called Your Highness, where she's just being ogled at, but it's supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. It falls flat. And then another artistic piece with I'm Still Here, opposite Joaquin Phoenix. You run into this, and all of a sudden you thrust her into this, and it's just kind of it's
a backward
those
step,
four
I think.
films, these 4 or 5 films back to back, are just pulling in completely opposite directions, especially going from Your Highness, where she is in a complete farcical comedic role, to something where she has to balance the comedy of the script with the science fiction at the time that is the comic bookness that is Thor. I just feel like there could have been a better opportunity to cast someone different. Who that is, I just don't have that answer.
Yeah, it was a backward step for her career, but she's over it. She's gone. Thor and her are broken up in Ragnarok, moving on. My next problem with the film is the giant robot faceless enemy. I kind of always skip that fight when he gets his powers back because it's just so obvious he's going to win that. The more interesting climactic battle is between him and Loki because it means something emotionally.
Correct.
There's tension there. There's real gravitas between the two characters. It wraps up that struggle of the royal family and just puts a nice bow on it, but leaves something for the future. And leads us into Avengers, right? And Thanos and stuff, so.
It will. Which shelf does it belong on within your shelving?
Well, I will put this on 3 because maybe I'm biased. The Shakespeare stuff maybe over inflates the film's quality for me. So maybe if I need to be honest, it's a shelf 2. Because just like Iron Man 1, great character development, a little lackluster in the relationship and the final big battle aside from the Loki stuff. But maybe that's where I'm putting it.
No,
Shelf
I'm going
2.
with your original vote of shelf 3. I feel like there are just kind of so many things that detract from what was very, very great action sequences with just being... I think the whole him being introduced to S.H.I.E.L.D. could have gone better, but there was just so many things that could have been greater. I feel like it was good, but it could not reach a greatness level. Again, the face-off against the Destroyer, the interactions throughout with S.H.I.E.L.D., and then the head-to-head against Loki. Those were certainly improvements to what was things going on. But then, of course, he has to go back to Earth and deal with things there. And I feel like it was just one of those things that you look back on it and I'm like, well, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse.
You know what? I have to amend what I said. I think I flipped the numbers. 3 is what I meant. Like,
I got you.
At first I was thinking 2, but 3. I'm with you. It's just good, just like Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
We put that on 3 as well. So Thor 2011, Kenneth Branagh, Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, and we both put on the third shelf. Can you close us out, sir? Bring us back on that rainbow bridge.
So as we continue
infinity.
down the rabbit hole, we've given you now 4 different films of 3 different characters in the road to the road on the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the Infinity War. Almost did not quite use words good.
Words. Yeah.
Words are good. But yeah.
It's not like we're a words medium right now.
No, it's just a thing, and we talk, and the things happen and stuff. But we're getting to the point now where we need 1, maybe 2 more particulars to really round out what will be the Avengers to this point. Because, like we mentioned, we've got Iron Man. We've finally met Black Widow. You've got the Incredible Hulk. Now you have Thor.
Now we need Captain America.
Yeah, we need us some. We need another Chris. That's what we need.
That's right. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is really the Marvel Chris universe.
Yeah.
MCU.
Marvel Chris universe.
And with that, we shall say farewell.
Let us know what shelf this belongs on in the comments below. And give us feedback on the Twitters. He is at Shelf Nerds. I am at Alex_Salvo. But we will see you next time on the road to the Infinity War.